Hey guys, Luna here. I'm
Hi
here
guys.
with OJ, Jordan. Super excited on this lovely Friday here in Barcelona. Yay. So actually I have to tell you guys a story about OJ and how I met him. So I met him at my last event in Barcelona and he's actually flying out in a few days to London to speak at a conference. So I wanted to make sure that I grabbed him before he left and do a special live interview with him. So, OJ, well, you'll tell us a little bit more about your story, but he's got his own YouTube channel, which I encourage you to check out. I'm going to include the link in the comment section. It's just OJ Jordan. And here at that Crypto Hustle, we love to promote other crypto hustlers in the space. So today we're going to talk all about trading. Super excited to have you here. So why don't you start telling us a little bit about how you got started, and because you have such a fascinating story.
Oh well, thank you first for having me here. It's great to be on your channel. And so how I started, I got involved with cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin. Of course, it was the first one, and more like an investor, more as an investor. I was looking at opportunities to put some money into, something that is having a strong potential rather than sitting in the bank. And I found a few different things. At some point, I found Bitcoin. I had already heard about Bitcoin long before that in 2011. And at the time, it was a newspaper article at, I think it was the Sunday Times or something like that. So it did catch my attention, but I didn't get involved. I took another 3 years in order for this to actually take off in a way that I can believe in it. Because at first, it just seemed like quite an obscure concept, something that sounds quite good, but I didn't think that it will be working when you put it to practice. And also at the time, there weren't many exchanges and websites that will allow you easy access to Bitcoin. I remember when I tried to buy it the first time, I went to, it was more of a forum, and because it was a peer-to-peer currency, it just seemed quite dodgy to me, like sort of dealing on the dark net. You need to find someone who wants to sell it to you, and then you need to move your money into escrow first so that the transaction can have a little bit of security, but still it didn't feel right. And also it was $130, and I just felt, why would I be paying $130 for one of these, I didn't understand it very well at the time. I didn't realize the scarcity of it, and the way that it's designed to combat inflation, so that deflation, so that you actually have that almost guarantee of jump in value over time. And later on, when I encountered it again, I kind of did more digging. I found out all of the particulars and everything. And I thought, okay, I will give this a chance. We already had websites like Coinbase, which for a starter, for someone who is just getting involved in crypto, is very convenient because it's super easy interface.
Yeah.
You can have it on your phone, just a couple of clicks, and you can buy Bitcoin, legally, easily, without having to worry about dealing with people you don't really know. And now there's more services. Now you have Bitpanda as well, and you have all of the exchanges where you can even trade it. You can set your own price. So many options. So this is how I got started. This is I invested in it, but somewhere towards 2016, we were starting to hear about possible forking happening. Roger Ver was coming up with a lot of sorts of scenarios where it wasn't very favorable towards Bitcoin, and he tried to first fork Bitcoin Unlimited. Then he joined Bitcoin Cash, as we know, and this summer in 2016, late 2016, I got quite uneasy about the future of Bitcoin because it was threatened by possibly a fork that would split the community in two, and that would definitely drive the price down. This was the my thinking at the time. So I started looking into altcoins, and I started spreading my capital around different altcoins rather than just keep it all in Bitcoin. And maybe I got lucky because it was at the time when all of them were in the small digits. Ethereum was $8. Dash was, probably even less than 3 or something.
So what year was that? 2016, right?
Yes.
So, you bring such a relevant point, because a lot of people are probably scared because it's still somewhat dodgy. I mean, compared to when you started, obviously not, but to the mainstream, especially sort of the information that's put out there, it's still dodgy to somehow invest. It's becoming easier, obviously, and more people are sort of jumping on board. But what you said that's really resonating with me is the fact that you're like, oh, it was so cheap back then. But like, fast forward, right? So we're in 2018. Yeah, like some of the prices might be much higher, but who knows? Like 2 years, 3 years from now, it could be like much more.
The market is still growing,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, there is still a lot of room for growth. We haven't even touched a 1 trillion overall market cap for the whole cryptocurrencies, and that should be happening probably by the end of this year. I'm hoping. We'll see. But I mean, when I started trading more actively, which was beginning of 27, end of 2016, beginning of 2017, that was about the whole market cap, if I'm correct, was around 150 billion. Definitely, no, less, 90 billion, around 90 billion, if I'm correct. And now we're over 400 billion. Sometimes we drop to 300 and something, 400, we're around there. This is a massive growth already. It's 4 times in the space of a year and a half, something like that. And the big money is only just starting to come into the game. So there's definitely a lot of room for growth. Not only that, but we just saw that MasterCard is just got some sort of a patent for blockchain solution that they will be implementing over the next couple of years. We saw a lot of banks, including JP Morgan, and Jamie Dimon, the head of JP Morgan, was very negative about Bitcoin last year. Suddenly, they have a lot of patents for blockchain technologies, maybe talking about their own cryptocurrency, stuff like that. We're seeing Microsoft was one of the early adopters. They started accepting Bitcoin years ago. And now we're hearing about Facebook and Amazon also getting interested in blockchains and filing for patents and everything. So there's a lot of corporate interest from companies that are established, companies that are strong on the market. And they're trying to fight with the new fintech startups that are threatening. So that alone should give you more confidence in taking cryptocurrencies more seriously and looking into getting involved.
So that brings me to my next question, which is, if you're starting out, obviously buying a Bitcoin might seem extravagant. I know you can buy percentage of Bitcoin, but let's say you're starting out with $50, $100 just to get your feet wet. What is your recommendation to look at the market holistically and understand what are some options for you? Like, what's a method that you would encourage someone who's like a newbie to get started?
All right.
A very complicated question.
It is, yeah, it's not a straightforward answer right, that I can give here, because it really depends on what are you trying to achieve. Now, a lot of people, when they come into the crypto space, they want to feel safe, because the crypto space alone it's quite unsafe for them, right? Mm-hmm. It's unfamiliar, and on top of that, we have a lot of media constantly talking about regulators, securities. Are these coins securities? Are they going to be legal? Stuff like that. So they're scaring you. And that's, that's expected. They do that on purpose. It's a joint effort between the banking industry and the media to suppress interest in cryptocurrencies because they are threatening, especially the banking sector. But so for that reason, a lot of the people, when they first come into cryptos, they want to place their bet on something that is relatively safe, and that is Bitcoin. Because a lot of the altcoins are still very new, and they're projects that started recently. Some of them started a year ago, some of them started 2, 3, 4 years ago, but they're still in their infancy. A lot of them don't have their own use cases. They don't have even proper wallets, some of them, but they're still being traded. And with a lot of them, you can make a lot of profit, but you have to be a speculator and you have to be a little bit more experienced in trading in order to be successful with that. So if you're going to be completely new, it's not likely that you will have these skills yet. I would advise to go for Bitcoin at first. And also, even if you want to trade, you still need, most of these current cryptocurrencies are traded against Bitcoin, and some of them are traded against other currencies, but not all. So your choice is always the biggest if you're going to have Bitcoin first, and then you can trade it against altcoins. You will need to do a lot of research, and you should be spending a lot of time watching videos and seeing what people explain about different coins. There will be some people who will be shilling them, which is promoting them shamelessly for the sake of gain. Maybe they're paid to promote. Sometimes they're just heavily invested in the coin, so they're really heavily promoting it so they can get more interest in that coin. That's why you should be watching all kinds of content, negative content as well as positive, so that you can really decide what makes sense to you. You need to weight the information and decide what you can take and into your account and what you should ignore. So you need to spend a lot of time in research and speak to people, try to connect on, there's a lot of Facebook channels, Telegram channels, WhatsApp, even, pretty much every social media, there is crypto community. And what you need to do is just find that crypto community and start networking with these people and making friends so that you can take advice from, someone who has a little bit more experience, but also not just someone you don't know. You don't want to just take anybody's advice. That's why you need to be more active in communities and channels and Facebook groups, let's say, so that you can get to know people and you can judge their character. You can see if they're going to be advising you to your best interest. That's how I started. The most things I learned in the beginning were things that we shared with people, that we were just talking about different projects, and someone would say, oh, did you see this? And this is making a lot of noise. Maybe this ICO is interesting. And by the way, with ICOs, there is a lot of risk. Many of the newbies, many of the people who don't know much about cryptocurrencies, they hear about people making 100 times returns and 1,000% returns from ICOs, and that's the first thing they want to jump into. But when you're not experienced, it's very easy to go into a scammy ICO, something that looks really good and presentable and real, but in fact it doesn't take off, and it fails. Sometimes it could be a genuine project that just fails, and a lot of the times it would be a fraud from the very beginning. So luckily there is a lot of regulation now that is coming into this space. That's one of the good things that regulators are doing, is that they would make it harder for scam ICOs to be promoted. But they are happening a lot, and Twitter is a place where you can get a lot of noise. So even though I use Twitter a lot, you have to follow certain people. You can't look at every tweet that is about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, because you will get a lot of people just promoting things that may not be good or genuine.
So, yeah, which is fair. It sounds like you spent a lot of time studying the market. So it's definitely something that's time consuming, right?
Yes, it is.
would you say that someone who has only 10 hours a week to spend learning about crypto, is that enough? Like, it sounds like you did it pretty consistently for a decent amount of time.
Yes.
And you probably know where to look for information now at this point.
Yes, I mean, the reality is that you have to spend a lot of time because even though right now you have so many more websites and blogs and channels and groups and ways to get information, there's also a lot of noise, much more noise nowadays than a couple of years ago. So it will be time consuming. And if you are going to make money from this, you have to spend the time. You have to dedicate time and effort to understand it. Otherwise, it's very easy to lose money with it.
Mm-hmm.
And for instance, what happens a lot is when a coin starts getting pumped, which is when the price starts going up very fast, and it's literally a pump, that's what we call it. This is when I see a lot of people starting to want to buy that coin, which is the absolute opposite of what you should be doing. Every time there is a sudden jump in the price of a coin, it always gets a pullback after that. And this is 100%. This is always the case. And
so should you buy when the pullback happens? And then, because what are the chances of it going back up? You really cannot predict that.
You have to know, you can, but you have to analyze the charts, and this means that you need to understand a little bit about the different tools that you need to use and indicators for charting. And there's a lot of free content on YouTube. Seriously, you can learn all of that. I learned most of it from YouTube. Of course, I've taken some courses after that because I needed to improve. But when I first started, everything was already, there's a lot of guys who are trading and showing trading tips. There's also guys who do chart analysis. So you can be looking at chart analysis and finding out what people are analyzing, what tools they're using, how are they using the tools, and start doing it yourself, and then start comparing with what they have done and what you've analyzed. What did you miss, and get better, get improved, because you shouldn't be buying the pullback necessarily. You should be buying the breakout, which happens after the pullback, and after the pullback there might be a long period of just the coin going flat, reaching the floor, as we say. And when it stays for a longer period of time and it consolidates at that floor, it creates a strong support. And if it doesn't break that support, it doesn't go any lower, then it's very likely, it's most likely, that it will start another bull run. So it means it's completed the first cycle, it's gone, it's retracted, it's gone down, it's pulled back a lot. It maybe went down all the way to the previous price before the pump happened, and then it consolidated. And for a period of time, it created a strong support, and it's ready to start the next bull run. This is when you should get involved if you are looking into trading and just speculating. This is not necessarily the way investors are going into coins. And even though I always advise people to get into the coin when it's the right time, when it's really reached the floor, so they can get it at the cheapest price possible, many times I hear from people saying, I don't really care about the price right now because I'm going to wait for a year or two, and by then it will definitely go up. With the good projects, yes, but not every project is that good. And there's many coins that a year ago were looking very promising and people were getting involved. And
which coin do you remember?
Well, quite a few actually. I mean, a year ago, we were looking a lot into NAF, and we were looking into MAID and Pink, and so many. And a lot of them are doing okay right now, but they're certainly nowhere near the expectations of. And also, it was last year, this time around, it was a very strong bull market for the whole crypto. It was a time when the whole cryptocurrency market cap went up by probably 100% in the space of a month and a half, which was really big jump.
Yeah.
I remember Poloniex was at the time the exchange we were using, and it had an increase of members, of customers, by 200% in a month, and it was crazy. And today, nobody uses Poloniex anymore. We've literally moved on to other exchanges, and I see trading volume on some coins in Poloniex that is in 1 digit. So really low trading volume, meaning it's dead. Of course, they have big trading volume on the big coins, but Poloniex was like the biggest liquidity a year ago, and right now it's all about Binance. And
I mean, it's crazy, and things move so fast.
They
Because
move
now
very
with
fast.
the launch of EOS, a lot of people are refuting Ethereum because of scalability issue. So a lot of people who are holding Ethereum are, well, we'll see what happens. I mean, none of us really know, but more reason to be extremely vigilant. So it's funny because, I mean, and I was one to preach, and I guess because I had just gotten started, like right after, I guess, January, when the market started being more bearish, telling everyone to hold, hold, hold. I mean, obviously, yes, hold and purchasing, but I realized, I guess, talking to guys like OJ, that, well, that's not necessarily always the best strategy.
Very true. I was always a long-term trader, and recently I was forced by the market to start doing more day trading or short-term trading, because over the last couple of years it was very easy to just buy a coin and hold it, especially if it's a strong one like Ethereum. Even Ripple, many people hate it in the crypto community, but Ripple is great for traders because it's volatile and it brings a lot of opportunities. But these were coins that were really, in the longer term, they were steadily going up and up and up, and you can literally just, many people just bought Ethereum or Ripple or Dash, and they were holding them. And last year, very big gains. Nowadays, not so much. This year, we've been in a bear market from the beginning of the year, and we are just starting to change that and possibly turn it around, for a proper trend rather than just for a week or two. We'll see how it goes. But I would say that, and many people were advising me not to hold altcoins long term. Really, Bitcoin is the safest option for a long term. Altcoins, you always have to be alert on what's going on, because really tomorrow things can change. Last summer, we were thinking that there will be flippening between Ethereum and Bitcoin. We were expecting Ethereum to reach the market cap of Bitcoin and possibly even take its top spot. We are so far from that right now. But literally, if you do a search, last summer, maybe it was, I don't know, was it August or was it June, July? It was this time last year. Many people were talking about Ethereum becoming the next Bitcoin, and even beating Bitcoin, becoming bigger in terms of market cap, of course.
But I even feel like I saw this recently. Up till recently, people were saying that.
I don't think we will see that happen at all. However strong Ethereum may get from this point on, there's already a lot of competition to Ethereum itself. You have Neo, you have EOS, a few. Let's not mention names, because you never know. In a few months' time, these names might be also like, oh,
absolutely.
They were talking about EOS moving. Yeah, well, EOS is. We still don't know. EOS gave us a lot of good growth over the last year, because it was in a sort of an ICO stage for a year. Unheard of, right? We were already trading it on the exchanges, but it was pretty much trading the tokens as futures. And only now they have their own blockchain. So only now they're going to start building and bringing up more applications. And depending on how they do it, we'll see what will happen with the coin. But that's what I'm saying. There's always a risk that if that blockchain that they're launching, like as we speak, probably they're still doing it. If it's not working very well, if it's patchy and it gets attacked easily and all of those things that you don't really want to happen, that will be bad for the value of the coin. So people who have invested in EOS, if they're not trading it, regularly, they might be losing value with time. So what I advise is when you invest, even if you're just investing and not really trading, every time you see that coin pumping, meaning the price goes exponentially up because of certain maybe fundamentals or something else is happening that is really pushing that price up, there a lot of interest in the coin, maybe the media is talking a lot about it, this is the time for you to sell. And don't be afraid to sell, maybe not all of it, but definitely
In
start
stages.
start selling as the price is going up. Because when the price goes up suddenly, meaning in a day or 2 days, it gains 20, 30, 40%, it happens. This is a definite sign that you will see a pullback, so you will be able to buy it again in the pullback, or in the dip. By the dip, this is a very common expression. So from a long-term point of view, this is definitely better for you, because you can pick up some of the profits, take them out, and then you can later purchase again the coin cheaper, and that way you've basically recovered maybe the money that you originally paid for it. Maybe you're already in profit, but you're taking profits, you're not waiting for it for years. There was a coin that I was trading, and it was going very well. We were expecting some new development, and suddenly they announced on their Twitter that the main developer has passed away.
Oh.
Now, whether the guy really passed away, or whether it was an accident, or whether it was just a scam, you never know.
Wow.
But that's what happens. The coin can literally lose its core developer, and and especially if it's a small project that is run by a small team, the whole project can just go to pieces. So you don't really want to be invested in something and sleep on it and not be aware of what's happening in the space, what is going on with developments, new applications, new partnerships, or something that they're doing. You need to know what they are doing to drive that price up, because these coins are almost like shares from the company that that is developing the project.
Yeah.
They're not exactly like shares, they don't function like that, but in a way people buy these coins because they believe in the project.
Ooh. Sorry, guys. That's what I get for having my computer and my phone linked to one another. Not good. But okay, so lots of valuable information, more reason to follow OJ Jordan on YouTube. One last question. So, given that you've done some research and you're starting to check more actively on a daily basis where your coins are, what if you're interested in cashing them out? What are some of the options that are currently available? I mean, I'm sure that's going to change a lot, but what are people currently doing?
Okay, well, the first thing that people are doing is they're using websites like Coinbase, Xapo, or Bitpanda. These are very popular because they have mobile applications and desktop as well. So you can use it even on your mobile, and they offer you a wallet. So often people buy their Bitcoin from there, and that would require either using a credit card, or you can move money from your bank account into into your account with these different apps and services. So the cashing out will happen the same way. You can move your Bitcoin in there after, let's say, you've traded perhaps, maybe you even had some different coins, but you want to cash out. If these coins are not being supported by Coinbase or Bitpanda or the other apps that you're using, then you will sell them to Bitcoin, and then you will sell your Bitcoin in Coinbase or Bitpanda. You will make a withdrawal directly into your bank account. Now, you may not want to use a bank account. I have a bank that I stopped using because I heard that they are closing people's accounts because they were using crypto. So they're not a crypto-friendly bank, and there's many of those, unfortunately. So if that's the case, then the alternative is to use a Bitcoin machine. It's a Bitcoin ATM, and it's available in many countries. Usually in capital cities, you will find Bitcoin ATMs, and there is a website where you can just Google Bitcoin ATM, and you will find the website that actually lists, and it's like a map where you can see all of the Bitcoin machines around you in your country, if there's any. There's more than 5,000 around the world, so a lot of countries are covered. That would be one option. Another option is to get a Bitcoin debit card. There were a lot of these last year. Suddenly in January, Visa kind of Wavecrest, which was a partner of Visa, cut ties with everything to do with crypto. So for the moment, there's only a couple of solutions, but I know at least about 4 that are coming up possibly in the next quarter. And a lot of the companies that used to have cards and were forced to stop because of the Visa problem, they are working on their new cards. So I'm pretty sure that Xapo and Bitwala and BitPay and a few others that used to offer cards will have that option very soon. Right now, it's only Wirex. And of course, it's not worldwide. It's not in every country. So depending on the region where you are, it will really differ the kind of service that you will be using. But generally for Europe and America and Canada, there are quite a few options. And also Bitfinex is a trading platform, but you have you can trade there with US dollar, euro, British pound, Japanese yen. So you have quite a selection of fiat currencies that you can sell, and not only Bitcoin. There you can sell EOS and other cryptocurrencies directly for fiat, and you can withdraw into your bank account. They will only be working with a bank account. They don't have a card. So you will just have to research the options and find out what is most convenient for you. But there are options.
And he's got plenty of tutorials as well.
Oh yeah, I do a lot of tutorials on my YouTube channel on how to sign up with Coinbase, for instance, or how to use KuCoin Exchange, which is one of the new exchanges. Now I'm doing a tutorial on Binance for people who are just getting started and don't feel very familiar with the interface of a trading platform, because you have the charts, you have all of the orders and everything.
It is very intimidating. Yeah.
I remember when I first looked at Poloniex, that was the one I started with. I looked at it and with all of these screens and everything, I was like, how am I going to learn that? And then I looked at Bittrex, and it had a much simpler interface, so it became my favorite. But nobody is using them anymore. I mean, Bittrex is still okay, but these change. And what you will need to do is get an account with at least 3 or 4 of them, because they also have different choice of coins. Some coins you will find only on Binance or only on KuCoin. You're not going to find them on Bittrex. You're not going to find them on Bitfinex. So there are a lot of options, and you will end up having at least 4 or 5 different accounts with these exchanges. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
If you're going to be trading a lot, of course.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, thank you so much for all this wealth of knowledge. Pleasure. Really excited to have you on the show. As usual, you guys make sure to Bye, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye.